Hey everybody, welcome to episode 25 of the Seller Club podcast. This is a great Clubhouse Q&A spring cleaning edition. So before we start really cleaning house, let's drop a beat. What's up, guys? You ready to clean?
Yo, clean.
You said
Ken, do you love cleaning?
do you love organizing?
I like organizing, but if it's just too cluttered, I'll just start throwing things away.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Pretty much.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's not so much Lysol that we're getting into today. Different kind of cleaning, more like organizing.
Okay.
The funny thing about our title, though, it says spring cleaning. When is spring? Because I feel like winter has been dragging for an extra, I don't know how many weeks to months.
The Texan is
says
complaining
the
about
guy
winter.
that's in the desert.
like,
one day it's raining, and then it's cold, and then it's hot,
Wait,
and then it's
What's
weird
cold?
right now.
What's cold?
Well, it's because we have a wind chill sometimes, so that's where it throws it off, and then you feel like you can
Feels
just
way
wear
colder.
shorts, and then you can't, and then you're stuck, and then you're sick. So
That's very discombobulating to
That
think
is.
you can
And
wear
then-
one
and then-
thing and then you
yeah,
find
and then
out
it's
I was
sunny,
wrong
right?
somehow.
There's sunny. It's sunny. Okay.
But I think also from a reseller perspective, I mean, you could list whatever you want. You should get everything listed, between spring and fall and winter clothing. But hoodies and all that stuff are still selling. So people are still buying jackets and hoodies. And here you are thinking let me get shorts ready and t-shirts and tanks ready for spring and summer. And it's not really that time yet. So maybe it is, maybe it's not. Very weird.
Yeah, it is. It's like that weird interim transitional time where you're like, I'm ready for the next season, but it's kind of wibble wobbling.
I wish
is
it
it
was
here or not?
I wish it was
ready
more
to come?
defined. I wish it was more defined, right? Because we did have official spring was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then we had snow, we had hail, we had tornado.
New York
And I'm
too. They're
Yeah.
man.
So,
Nominally, it's spring. Experientially, we don't know.
yeah.
The jury is still out.
Yeah.
What did the groundhog say?
Oh.
What did he
Groundhog's
say?
lying. I don't think that worked.
Yeah, I honestly don't even remember what he said.
I think it's supposed to be early spring.
That's how much attention I paid.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Sorry, Phil. Sorry.
Phil.
Yeah.
Sorry, Phil.
Puxatawny Phil. I mean, there's actually a lot. There's a lot of groundhogs around the country that give their 2 cents, but Phil's the
That
one
is
everyone
true.
watches on TV. So he's the national star, I guess.
True. That is true. So quick little update. I've been adding in jerseys and trying to list every day. Traffic, of course, has gone up because of that. But I did sell another. It was a $200 jersey on Mercari.
Oh.
So I think you guys were on to something that Mercari's trying to be some higher end stuff to not pay fees, and then people can get a better deal on it.
Man.
And
Yeah.
maybe that's where things are going to be headed.
Super
More money
interesting.
in Glenn's pocket. How about that?
We love that for you.
How
Glenn.
about that? But the eBay side, nothing yet. I am still working with. I did get some offers, some things, some watchers, but
Yeah.
just kind of weird that Mercari side, or maybe are people really quitting or not? There's more Reddit updates. People are like, I am done with this.
Yeah.
And this is ridiculous. But the funny thing is, I saw someone take a $6 offer, and then I guess they got returned. But I think I know that it's talking about you could return whatever you want. But if it's a higher end item, I feel like the risk of trying to do that is also way higher. If someone's going to put in $250 and then they try to do a switcheroo and return it, let's say it doesn't go their way. Do you think they're going to want to risk $250 compared to $6?
Yeah. I've just never had a huge issue with people just returning stuff or abusing the return policy. Yeah. I mean, obviously mostly on eBay, but I have had people buy a bunch of lower dollar things, like a bunch of costume jewelry, for example. Oh, somebody bought 30 things, and then they wanted to return 14 of them because they just like got them and were like, which that was annoying. That's like, okay, well, this is not a try-on service. Like, you just, and now it's like this complicated return because it was this huge bundle basically. But, I don't think it looks good for the buyers to be returning 14 things at once either. So, again, it's like,
especially when
you're not really
deal,
incentivized to do that. Yeah.
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 No, some guy did that with me too on cleats, and he was like, he bought, I think, it was like 25, and then 8 of them, which are like how did he want to do this? I think he wanted to keep the higher end ones, return me the cheaper ones, and then still get like overall the same kind of bulk pricing.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Just the average. He wants to average it out.
Exactly. Oh, average it out, and let me just return these.
Yeah.
And
what happened?
It was a back and forth because he called eBay and he was like, I should be able to return this. Like, I'm the customer and this and that. And I told him, I'm accepting returns, but you have to return everything.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just do a partial return.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, like, well, partial return is an option. Like, you just partially refund that money. Like, he's trying to fight that. I'll give you a partial
refund, too.
Yeah,
that's what you should have said.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, that's only if I agree to that. So I even called eBay, and I'm like, I'm open returns. I'll take the return, but I'm going to count every cleat. And if some cleats are missing, well, then now we have a problem. Yep. But I'm open to returning all of them.
That happened with that jewelry when I was just describing, which, by the way, that happened one time ever in, 7 or 8 years or whatever. And I think 7 years. But, then they ended up not even returning several of the ones that they said they were returning. And so I was like, well, you're not getting a refund for those.
Yeah.
It seemed like that buyer was very disorganized anyway. And also, they bought all of that stuff at 3 a.m. Like in their time zone, and I was like, were you just was something going on? Why are you shopping for 30 random pieces of costume jewelry from me at 3 o'clock in the morning? That's not typical behavior, right?
Well,
something was going on there.
Since we're in the doom and gloom, the last 30 days have been terrible for all my feedback.
Oh man.
1 negative feedback and 4 neutral.
What?
4 neutral?
Yeah.
Are these all product review related?
Huh?
Are these all product review related?
Yeah.
How,
one is like,
are they really saying refunded. They had a bad experience with you? Of course I refunded because you wanted to return it. Oh, I didn't really like this.
And it's neutral, and then they canceled it.
Weird.
So, yeah, and then somebody said too small, wanted to return, wasn't accepted because we have no return policy. And then some neutral said after some modification I got it to fit.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
After I cut a couple of toes off.
Yeah, and I'm like,
what did you modify?
Yeah, and that's again, this is something that we will have to take with eBay because at the end of the day, what is it? Is this, we have to be really distinct about, is this a feedback, a product review feedback, or a service feedback? Because service-wise, I don't think none of this matters. Because,
yeah, right.
That's whether you bought the wrong item or the right item, it got to you, and it's like the post customer care, one guy, I let him return, he leave me a neutral because I refunded him. I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to get refunded because I returned the item to you. So, but we'll see. I mean, this episode is doing really great. What else?
I thought we started off good. We sold an expensive jersey. That was a good.
Yeah,
that was a good.
Yeah,
yeah.
Glenn was trying to steer us in the right direction.
And then the possibility of return, Glenn. That's what happened. Or your jersey getting switched to a Ross NBA jersey, NBA brand jersey.
NBA brand. Yeah, traffic's up. We're trying to get our listings going. We're getting there. I know this is definitely going to help ASP. I know that because my lowest price jersey is $90. So
yeah,
the higher ones are $350. So we got to get that ASP sky high.
Yes. I mean, you got to build the momentum, you know?
Yeah. So every morning is my goal. Listings every morning. We've been solid since the last time I talked to you guys.
Inspirational.
Got to get it done. So today, cleaning. I don't know, spring cleaning. Is that fun? Is that good news?
I've been doing a lot myself because, and this is kind of like the real lead of the topic, I guess, today is what do you do with too much inventory? And, you know, we've all experienced that in different ways, and some ways that none of the three of us have experienced that we know of other sellers that are friends of ours that have. But like for me, I've been, you know, on this whole journey with moving my inventory and everything. And basically I've come to this conclusion that I really want to optimize the space in my basement, my e-basement. I want to have all my photos set up down there. And I did a little like poking around in my inventory and discovered that if I eliminated basically the bottom 15% of my items, which is a lot. That's 1,500 items. Okay. Like it's
That's
a lot.
My whole inventory.
Yeah. If I eliminated Ken's whole inventory from my basement, I would free up about a third of my space.
That's
so those items were disproportionately taking up way more space.
Yeah, they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. Like
yeah,
they were given too much time, too much space, too much effort for zero return so far.
Yeah, right. And it is hard. Like I feel like the hardest thing that I've battled with doing this clean out myself in my situation is just kind of sunk cost fallacy, because I've already listed all of these items. You know, I put in time. They have been taking up space. Most of them I moved here from Georgia. You know, they took up a bunch of space on my moving truck, and you know, I wish that I had sort of taken this type of inventory a couple of years ago, but I didn't, because at the time I had plenty of space, and I firmly believe that everything sells eventually. And, you know, honestly, a lot of that stuff, I thought it would sell better than it has. So there's also all the macroeconomics of the last couple of years that have played into whether or not those things have sold. So at this point, I'm just like, I'd much rather have the space for fresh, better inventory, and also be able to consolidate my whole setup into one area of my house. So that at this point, that is worth more to me than the sunk cost of having those items listed already. But I am still going to get something out of them. Most of them were free, you know, sans the blood, sweat, and tears of getting them listed. But I'm going to have a giant yard sale and get at least something for all those items that were mostly free anyway. So hopefully I'll have a killer yard sale, clear the decks. I've already got all of it out of my basement, which is amazing and life-changing as it is.
I guess the question would be, how cheap, or what's your game plan on the garage sale? Like, are you willing to be like, hey, someone's like 3 for $1, or $1 each, or you want to go a little bit higher than that, or what is your game plan?
Yeah, I'm probably going to do something, because it's so many items. I'm probably going to do something like, you know, everything, unless it's individually priced, which is not going to be hardly anything. Right. Like everything's $1, or fill a bag for, you know, or 10 for $5, like $1 or 10 for $5. Yeah. And people can just fill containers or whatever, because it's so much stuff, you guys. It's like 45 bins of stuff, I think. It's a lot. And it's like basically its own little storage unit in my shed right now, but it's going to be getting donated after that. It is not going back in my house, and it's not going back in my shed. So I'd rather get 10 cents for it, honestly. Yeah. I'm like, get it out of here.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of like, you know, I mean, as you shared on your IG story, it's just really trying to get to the next level. I mean, because obviously space is a thing, right, that we all have to deal with. And when you're, you know, at full capacity or almost full capacity, you can't really expand. Even if you say like, okay, I'm gonna invest, you know, in more higher ASP items, but you're still gonna be stuck with the problem of, oh, I won't have enough space to fill that in, right? Like let's say like Glenn says like, okay, Anna, like let's buy 10,000 hats, or let's buy 5,000 hats, you still won't have space, right? So it's like,
right.
I think what I like about the mentality of always prepare for the next haul, or always set your system up for a bigger operation, even though you're not gonna get there soon yet, not quite soon yet, but it just gives you that practice and gives you that workflow. And I think that's pretty much what we've been doing, really, like the last 2-3 months. It's just really optimizing the flow, optimizing the organization. I mean, you flew in here and saw the system that we were building, right? We built a system that was gonna be for 1,000 units, and then or 5,000 units, that is manageable for 2 or less people. So I think that's what I think people should get into, because I think there's gonna be a lot more opportunity to buy come summertime.
I think so too. And honestly, this is really the tail end of really fitting my store into my new living situation. Even though it's been over a year now, like since I've lived here, it hasn't been super efficient. And the value of efficiency is so high now. Like even last summer, I had basically just moved. I was not doing a whole lot in my store. I was just doing the bare minimum and getting my house set up, over the summer. So I didn't do much of like going to yard sales or like getting any kind of like bulk buys. And there's so much, there's amazing farm auctions in this area that I love going to. And I didn't do any of that last summer. So now it's like I want to take advantage of that stuff, but I, like you said, I just really didn't have space. And I thought about all these items, like, is this something that I would pay for a storage unit again for? And the answer was no. So I was like, then it's just gotta go.
That is a good measurement.
Well, like, would it be worth paying to store this? And if it's not, then it's the end of the experiment for those items, right?
What about you, Glenn? How's the storage unit going?
Well, I condensed into one, so the other 2 storage units not paying for that, which I'm very happy for. But I would like to, I don't know, there's just something about paying for something that I'll never own always irks me.
Like I hate it.
I know I need this storage unit, but... And even the very beginning, it was okay, I think, driving, because it's not too far from. But when you have, like, 30 items to ship plus the whatnot stuff, that's where things get a little wild. They were like, man, if these 30 items were here with me, organized, I could just get this done quick.
Totally.
But to drive over there, and then with 3 units, it's like, okay, unit number 1 has these 10 items. Unit number 2 has, I'm like, oh man.
I have a feeling that Glenn's gonna buy a bigger house soon.
That is my goal. I am trying. That's why I've been working this hard. I'm trying to get to that point. I want to have a totally different setup for...
He wants an e-basement.
Yeah, I do. E-basement is... Yeah, that would sound wonderful right now.
Do they do basements in Texas?
No.
in your part of Texas?
Ma, they do have a lot of workshops, right? Like, or like bigger garage. Yeah.
Yeah, you could do like...
detached.
There's so many storage units, so many little mini warehouse type of things, things like that. But like we said, the investment side of it, I would really like to do that. I guess something I'm eventually going to own. And then also you get to write off that for taxes. It's like you're...
Oh, yeah.
So
it's like... It's kind of like the mentality when we were at the apartment, right? Like, we were paying like $1,000 for our apartment. And then if I wanted a 1,500 square foot warehouse, it would have been like $800 to $1,000 a month.
Yeah,
it depends on location. And I'm like, wait, like my initial reaction, like, can I find a house that have a 1,500 square foot basement that I can just combine them together?
Totally.
So we move into this house and pay less than that, and then like that mentality of like, you're gonna own it someday, and then the value is gonna keep going up. It's not like the original value what you paid for. So I think that's gonna be a cool move. Hey,
let us know.
We'll help you set up. Maybe.
We'll fly in.
Help you set up correctly and have a...
Listen, My last name's Packer, okay?
Yeah.
I
very
can
true.
move some stuff.
I can move. I can organize. I can do it all.
100%.
But
Can
that
unpack it,
mentality
too.
and unpacking.
Packing and
that
unpacking.
mentality though, or of is it worth it or not, was also coming into play though too, because I had like a good amount of inventory in the third one, which is the smallest one. But then a lot of those items started to move, and with that one being the lowest one, I was like, I don't know if I'm really gonna need this after a while.
Yeah.
And then depending on the items, most of it in it right now are like Nike, golf, and things like that. So with like 2 cleats sold this weekend, so which helps it. I think as long as the prices are decent, they're not really cheap items, then I think I'm fine. So I don't mind keeping that for now, but I know that's not like the long-term goal, I guess, eBay wise, or I guess eBay and whatnot. I'd rather just have everything all in one and not have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you want to get like a little mini warehouse, you can get Wi-Fi and things like that, but how much is all this going to cost?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then again, it's not gonna be close to you, right? It's just that it's not like, because me and Glenn have had this conversation. It's like, he really don't wanna manage employees.
Yeah.
No.
Right. So if you're not that in that space, your goal is to really consolidate everything, make everything as close to you, at the same time enjoyable, right? Like, I think that was the biggest thing that we've discovered moving to a house that has a basement, because every inventory fits on the basement, and then we still have a 2-car garage that can hold inventory while processing to the basement, and then now we actually have a real living space, which we didn't have for like 4 or 5 years at our apartment, because everything we were living in a warehouse. But I think that's always gonna be a good thought, or something to think about, like, what is it in the next 3 to 5 years, right? Like, if you add all your bills on renting a warehouse or stuff like that, that's something that, okay, wait, you just you can write it off, but at the end of the day, like, you cannot get back the time, right? You can't get back the worry too, because like, you gotta think about your inventory not being close, and that's just, it's headspace too. Like, that's something that
Totally is.
You cannot really like account for, but you feel it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of just like, there's different solutions for different seasons. Like, when I expanded to storage units, that was the best thing to do, because it allowed me to like really grow. But then when I was able to translate that to, a commute that's now just down a flight of stairs into my basement, and everything is on site, and the money I was spending on storage is now going towards my mortgage, like, that was a better move. It's like, sometimes it on the surface might look like the opposite, but it's really just part of one progression, and the solutions change as your situation changes. So whoever's listening to this, wherever you find yourself, just know that, you might hear somebody that's a few steps ahead of you doing something different that's the opposite of what you feel like you need to do, and sometimes that's exactly right. Like, you do need to do what you need to do, and it's not going to look like what somebody else is doing at the time, and that's okay.
But I guess with Ken, it's just kind of like, could you and your wife stayed in the apartment and resell out of that? Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
And after having like so many boxes piled up, and like you said, not having a living area, because that's how mine is. I have stuff here and over there, but I also like on the whatnot side, to where like, if someone's like, hey, do you have that hat again, I could just get it real quick.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
Yeah,
right?
I don't have
you don't
to, like,
have it. Yeah, or you don't have
exactly.
it. Right?
I could just do it on the fly, sell it, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
But I with the storage unit, I have to go and pull those items, and it's kind of like, is it uncomfortable having a bunch of stuff and living in it? Yes. Could you have done it longer? Yes. But look how much smoother it is. Having a basement, which everything is organized, and just clears up so much stress and energy with all of that.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, good.
I was just going to say, in the spirit of spring cleaning, we've talked about some different solutions for what happens with too much inventory. Get more space, get auxiliary space, downsize the items. I mean, there's, only a couple of kind of directions you can go with it, but there are other ways to like semi-liquidate your inventory. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can talk about some of that stuff. I mean, I've talked about before already in the process of moving and stuff, semi-liquidating gradually by having stuff on sale. I did like my first little experiment of just straight up pulling out 100 items and just donating them, which was really good. I didn't bother with the idea of a yard sale at that point. I just wanted to see what that would be like, and it was really helpful and freed up a lot of space. And that's why I've now expanded it to 15% instead of 1% of my inventory. But like, what else? There's like probably wholesale options, helping other resellers. There's donating stuff to specific places where it would make sense. Like
sell and whatnot.
Sell and whatnot.
You'll
yeah,
sell
get rid of it all today. Yeah, right. Okay.
I mean, I've seen, this is the crazy thing though, is like we've seen stuff super cheap on eBay, and we've said it before, if you're the lowest doesn't mean it's going to sell.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I've seen it on Whatnot starting things at $1 and it not selling.
Yeah.
And there's even where like shipping comes into play. They're like $4 to $6 shipping, and this item's $1. Nah, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Plus taxes and everything else.
Yeah.
So even then, you're like, there's no guarantee that it's gonna move at $1.
Yeah.
But of course, I guess like the better your items are, the easier it would be to sell. Mm-hmm. But your goal is to not sell in bulk like that for cheap. It's to sell for great money online.
Right. Like, so that's not your general business model, right?
Yeah. Right. The ultimate solution is get better items.
Yeah, stop buying buying unwanted inventory unless you get it for dirt cheap.
I mean, but even if you do, it's your time and your space. I mean, that's what I'm muddling through right now, is like a lot of this stuff when I've pulled it out, I'm like, wow, I had some high hopes for this thing. And then when I'm looking at it today with the additional experience and wisdom I have, I'm like, I never should have listed this thing.
True.
Like, fair enough. I only knew what I knew at the time that I listed it, which in many cases was 4+ years ago. But still, it's like, okay, I don't feel bad at all about, sending this thing on to its next life that's not in my basement. Like, that's fine.
So would you guys agree that at least once a year, go through and evaluate your inventory and purge the bottom 10 or purge the bottom 20%, knowing that you have learned more other inventories or better inventories to buy. You've explored more other opportunities to source products, and you've come to the realization that that was a bad call.
Yeah,
and that's the hard part, right? Like as a one person,
it's humbling.
Yeah,
it's really humbling.
Like, it's not like a boss can come in and like, hey, yo, Ken, you gotta get rid of this stand, put it on sale because it was a terrible buy. If my boss tells me that, I'm like, oh, cool. I feel like, guys, buy one get one. Take this, right? Like, I feel like that's what the employee feels when we go in and they know you're a bulk buyer. It's like, hey, like, we got some really good deals here we're gonna get rid of, because there's no attachment. But when you made the call and bought that product, spend your money, and then like did all the shenanigans about running a sale, best offer, doing everything, and still not sell, it's just like salt to the wound.
It is. And yeah, like, I also have never, you have to consider the time cost of actually doing that process. I mean, that's the other thing. I spent, I don't know, probably 30 hours culling through the inventory, making sure I was pulling out the right stuff. Like, I had a really smooth, like, system for doing that, but I had to go individually through bins and pull out 1,500 items one at a time to get rid of them. So like, that took time and energy, but again, it's like, I knew it was going to be worth the time and energy to do that. In this case now, like, am I going to do this every year? I probably will, but my criteria for what is the bottom 10% like that's multifaceted. And
Right.
so some of it's about the ASP, some of it's about the quality, you know, the list price, whatever. I mean, sometimes I don't like cost of goods honestly doesn't factor in much for me. Like, okay, because I think of all that in averages anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. But, you know, I'm not just going to get rid of something only because it's a year old. Like, it has to be kind of subpar on multiple other criteria for me to be like, okay, I'm really going to say this was a fail and I'm getting rid of it. Because, again, like, it's part of my, like, core fundamental belief about, as a reseller, that everything sells eventually. But it's like, am I willing to continue waiting on this one or not?
Yep. Yeah.
That's really the question.
Yeah, it's like, you know, let me hold on to this old junky car, and my brand new car is sitting outside the garage.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. That's what it
Yeah.
is. It's like, wait, like, you know, like, if you think about it, but that's you know, like, I think that's the beauty of running the business. I mean, call it beauty, but there's, you know, there's pain in beauty as well. But we look back, and probably like 6 months later or Q4, we're gonna look at it. I was like, man, like, you'd be so glad you did this now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, any buying opportunity, it'd be it would make the decision easier because if somebody offered you better stuff, you'd be like, I can't yet because I have to purge this. Right?
Yeah. It makes it complicated.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, and I never want to say no to something that's really good only because of space.
Right.
But honestly, like, anytime I've been in that situation, it's not just space. It's also, you know, I don't tend to usually have a huge death pile, but it's kind of like the bottleneck of processing it. And
it's listed,
and space kind of comes into play twice in that scenario because you're like, if you have a processing area that's different than your inventory storage, how long can I leave all this stuff? For me, it's like, how long can I leave all this stuff in my guest room if I buy all this stuff at once? Like, has real life implications. Like, we use that room for other things. So, you know, it's not just the inventory space. It's your whole life setup, you know, especially where your work and your life are all happening in the same building.
Well, I think it's just real. I know you said cost of goods maybe doesn't matter at that point, but every item that you buy, every dollar that you spend is really important in the long term.
Yeah.
You know, when things come into play. But like, if you're getting items for free to 25 cents.
Yeah.
Times 1,500 items that you just mentioned earlier.
Yes.
That's like $375. That's not going to put a huge dent in you.
Exactly.
But if you're at the thrift and you're buying used clothing, let's say even at $6.
Oh, yeah.
Times 1,500, that's already $9K.
Well, and that's the thing. That was some amazing math, Glenn.
Wow.
I'm like, so
I felt like Ken.
It's making me studying all this time, huh?
You're like, let me just slip you some numbers here. No, I love it. But
$9K, that's a lot of money,
it's
bro.
true.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, $6 for, like, let's say a pair of jeans at the thrift, right?
Yeah.
I would probably not pull that out and sell it in the yard sale, but I would be like, okay, I'm going to drop this price to only double my money and get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, that would be a better candidate. So that's the other thing. It's like, there's different ways to, quote unquote, spring clean, to clean out your inventory, but maybe it's not a one size fits all treatment.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, even if you made 20%, I mean, at least you're
you're not losing money.
Item.
Right. Yeah, totally. And that's what I love so much about having really low cost of goods. But yeah, for all this stuff, the vast majority of it was part of estate cleanouts where I just wasn't picky enough about what to list. And so much of it is cool vintage stuff. It's just really easy to find everywhere because it was mass produced so much.
Yeah.
Lots of glassware and stuff like that. That's also a pain in the butt to ship. So yeah. So it's like all these different criteria, but I actually have, because I pulled everything out, I have my cost of goods for all of those items. I have to think. I think it was something like just a couple $100 because most of it was free ultimately. And I had full authority to decide in the beginning whether those things got listed or not. So even some of them that are consignment things, it's like I should have just decided at the beginning this doesn't make the cut, and that wasn't my decision at the time. Right. So, it's fine for me. Just get rid of them. Like they just cost me time, basically, time and space.
Yeah. Let's go to the opposite side, though. Let's say in Ken's point of view, let's say, or even the people that, let's say, watch the channel, or they're doing more retail ARB. All right, your 30 days, your 60 days, your 90 days to return an item are done. They didn't sell. You still have it. You did pay, even at Ross or something is like $17 for a shirt or a t-shirt, the low end. Shoes, $49, $59, some are $69. Let's say the same thing at the outlets. Mm-hmm. Now what is your call? And how long do you wait at that point?
I panic and call you guys because that doesn't never happen to me, and it sounds terrible.
But these items are brand new.
Yeah.
With tags. So
if you were really like strapped, I would keep it to 60 days. Especially if you're newer, keep it to 60 days and return it. That's if you're sub 2 years in the game, I would return it at the furthest store. I would not return it on the most frequent store I go to. But I have done it. What I would do if you're not into returning is swallow the L. Mark it as
ouch, Ken. No one wants to hear that.
No, I mean like
I'm just kidding.
It's amount of L's I've had to take. It's what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
What about if these items are brand new? Would it be weird to just put it on an auction on eBay and just do $1? See what happens.
I won't, because there's no automatic payment on an auction on eBay.
Man, we're back.
Right. Yeah. Come on, Glenn. Let's keep it positive. Okay. I would actually price it at. See, this would be another experiment. Price it as the lowest. Undercut everybody.
Okay.
You would be the
next guy.
Would
you promote high?
Huh?
Would you promote high?
At that point, I wouldn't, because it's the lowest already. Right? I wouldn't be lowest and promote high. But also if it's sneakers and stuff like that, there's so many ways you can sell sneakers. I mean, so many platforms. Now you got Mercari. Now you got Poshmark. Crazy enough, we sold Lucky Green ones. You know what? Women's Lucky Green one, Jordan Lucky Green one, for $300 on Jambo.
Jambo.
No, $300, bro. I think they're only like $100 on StockX.
Wow.
What the heck?
Yeah, so I was like, confirm, shit.
Are they going somewhere else in the world?
No, local. So
interesting.
They're just a Jambo shopper, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So, they got money in the app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
I don't even know if that's how it works.
Oh my gosh.
There.
That works there.
Gotta check that out.
But no, I would totally do that. I would just take the L, and just move on, and then reinvest. I mean, I think your losses gets compounded if you wait longer. Meaning, because of opportunity costs that you're missing out, because you're not buying, right? One great reseller once said this. Me and Glenn were there, and it was an aha moment. He said, "You make money when you buy, not when you sell." Me and Glenn looked at each other. I was like, "Oh!" that was it, and that's when we just start like being really strict at buying, really better at buying, just doing everything we could do to control the buying. Because at the end of the day, once you list it, it's out of your control. The most controllable thing in our business is the buying side.
Well, that's funny because we were talking about this, I guess, like me and the wife, about this whole thing. Because let's say you do want to save up for a house, or let's say there is a big purchase, the buying can't stop and the selling can't stop, and that's where it gets weird, because it's
indeed.
Well, if you're gonna pay yourself, you're gonna put this money into this,
right?
But then we need money for capital, but then you can't like stop selling. You have to keep moving these items too. You're in a very weird situation when one or the other stops completely. I mean, you could sell everything and not buy, but like Ken said, you're still going to be moving. You're going to lose out on whatever is coming in.
You cannot stop buying, Glenn.
Exactly, and then not only that, but
stop. Right.
if you stop buying from a supplier, you're done for.
Oh, you're done. Cause
move on to the next.
Yeah, they move to the next line. Nobody's that special, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, like it's funny story. Even bulk list now. I've seen Ross, Marshall, and Target put an offer on bulk list.
Mm.
You know, like and that's literally like the company to company could just say like, yeah, let's just not deal with this person. Let's just what mostly happens, right? Because at that time they know how to schedule trucking, they know how to schedule pickup, and at that time they're not nickel and diming you. So they're just like, if it fits my model, if it fits your model, done. And the crazy part is, more than ever, there's way more products right now.
I know, it's insane. And then now, of course, Anna's storage and keeping everything organized comes into play, where you have to be on top of your game, and if you're not, then now you have wasted space with a bunch of items and death piles and mayhem. So it's not easy. You got to be at top of your game all around, and it's even getting these items and going through them. Like, I have a bunch of jerseys back there. I have to go through them though and see like what's a better platform for this one or for that one or things like that. So one thing we didn't talk about though is kind of like wholesaling or just selling to another seller. And I've there was a guy that was like, hey, I know you're moving a lot more hats and whatnot. Would you buy me out for this price each hat? And I think I've bought him out twice he's like, I had told myself I wasn't going to buy any more hats. I'm done. And then like weeks later, he's like, hey,
I bought more.
And they're not moving. And I thought it would change.
I'll take more L's. That's what pretty much he's doing. He's telling you like, hey Glenn, I'll take more L's. I'll rather take a really big L than a bunch of individual L's.
True. So do you want to buy this? I was like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But I think when it gets weird is when Ken's got offered this too, though. And I've gotten them emails and the DMs. And I've gotten two of them recently. They're like, hey, can you just buy me out? And I'm like, well, what do you have? Or like, what is this? And a lot of it is older Ross, Burlington stuff. That the thing is that I remember these items. I know these items because I didn't buy these items. And I didn't buy them for a reason. I knew they were going to sell.
I would respond like, I didn't buy it back then. I don't know what you did.
Still don't want these. Yeah.
Yeah, I still don't want them now.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it's probably worse now because there are more of them that you could buy online, not just like in store. So if you could find another, bulk buyer, I guess that would take it, great. But when it's a mix of things, it makes it a lot harder. If someone was like, hey, I have a ton of just shoes, Ken would be like, okay, well, let me look at it. But if they're like, hey, I got clothing, I got accessories, I got shoes.
Hey,
and
I got a better response now.
Okay.
I got a better response for these people. I'd be like, $5 each. I'll take them all.
Yeah. Right.
Dirt cheap.
But
yeah,
I mean,
it has to be because
you're gonna get rid of a lot of it. Probably you have to put in the time culling it. But I know other resellers that do that where it's like a charity shop or some other organization has too many donations and they sell off their stuff like that. They're like $5 a bag and we're not even looking at it. We're just like bagging it up and you're the one who's figuring out what's good and what's not, and then the rest of it, whatever they cull and don't end up listing, they might donate it to some other specific place where it would be the best suited and get the most use or whatever. But I mean, that's not a terrible business model if you get enough of the good enough stuff in those grab bag style things.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just somebody's gonna put in the time to sort it, and are you gonna be the one to do that, or are you paying a premium for someone else to do it for you?
This is your problem now. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was gonna say. It better comes with Tylenol or Advil, because I'm taking away your headache.
Oh man.
Well, Glenn, I like what you were saying about having to go through stuff and figure out which platform is best, because that's a new thing for me. Trying to figure out what's going to sell where, which kind of brings us to our List Perfectly segment. I don't know if everybody's heard this yet, but with List Perfectly, they just released the Poshmark sharing tool that's part of their extension. And I know of one particular other sharing extension thing that people use a lot. So I'm really curious to see how it works compared to that one. I've started using it. It's like all really automated, and so far so good. But honestly, you guys, as I've kind of said before, I am not a huge fan of Poshmark. So this might save Poshmark for me.
Okay.
We'll see, because there ain't nothing happening on my Poshmark, because I'm not paying for another service, and I'm not going in and constantly interacting and sharing stuff all the time. So, I shouldn't be shocked that I don't have any sales. But now maybe this sharing tool that's part of the List Perfectly extension will kind of give me the boost that I need. So we'll see about that. I have all these little sticky notes in front of me that are my little pros and cons for the different platforms that I've been cross-listing to, and so that is going to actually finally be, I have nothing on my pros for Poshmark, so that's going to be my first pro for that sticky note. But I'll go through, I'm still building these out a little bit, but I'll go through them with you guys sometime, and we'll see like what the pros and cons are looking like from my experience. But I did just want to say that for anybody who hadn't heard yet, that sharing tool just came out as part of List Perfectly, and yeah, so far so good. It's working, and we'll see if that results in sales for me or not out on Poshmark. But yeah, we are also going to be having our next Seller Club seminar on Listing Party, and at the time this episode's dropping, it's actually going to be tomorrow. So it's going to be April 16th, and it's 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. You can do the math for the 2 time zones in between there, but it's going to be really cool. We're going to talk all about diversification in a reselling business. And there are a few different dimensions of that we're going to talk about. So come join us for that on Listing Party.
Alrighty, nice. Guys. That's going to be something cool to look forward to. And I think that's a pretty good discussion today. And hopefully that will inspire you guys to take some action.
And kind of like I agree with Ken. Listen to Ken. Go through your inventory. How often should we do this? Every year? Said every year.
At least a year, right?
Okay. All right.
Spring
Ken
cleaning.
Once a year.
Every spring.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
get
maybe,
that date. And penciled in though, not penciled in.
Yeah. We've already decided we don't even know when spring actually is. So
that is true.
Sometime in the general vicinity of spring.
Okay. So work on that. We are done.
We out.
See you guys.
Peace.